Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Global Goddess Fest, where men and women are tuning in from around the world to receive education, connect with global leaders, and gain inspiration on creating the life of your dreams. So this week we have Rae McPherson here. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, so happy. You are an amazing figure, person, woman,
Thank
but
you.
you also are a certified hypnotherapist and master teacher with this abundant knowledge. So our viewers are definitely in for a treat. So if you're joining
Oh,
us, a little bit more information about Rae. Rae is the founder of Awoken Life Brainwave Optimization and Wellness Center. She's an alternative health pioneer who employs cutting-edge techniques such as brainwave optimization, hypnotherapy, and combines it with the ancient arts of medicinal aromatherapy, meditation, energy, and sound healing. Rae holds over 17 certifications and licenses in the field of healing arts and spiritual techniques for healing. She also holds several certifications and degrees, patents, and published technical reports as a chemical engineer, allowing Rae to really understand and bring together these different worlds of the spirituality with the science, which is really why we're bringing here on as one of the experts at the Global Goddess Fest. Rae is the author of numerous articles on health, wellness, and the brain, and she offers classes, seminars, programs, lectures, and private sessions. And this is actually how we met. It was at another event, and I got to sit and listen to Rae speak on intuition, and then we ended up doing a private session, a sound healing journey, and it took me somewhere that I wasn't expecting and definitely showed me a lot and gave me a lot of clarity with where I was at in the moment. And I was like, we have to bring you onto the Goddess Fest. So happy you're here. And before we
I'm
dive
so
into
honored.
thank you. And before we dive into any questions, Mary's actually going to lead us through a clearing ceremony, clearing meditation. And if you want to speak on it at all before we get going, or
Yeah. So what I do before I do anything throughout the day is I let go of any expectations, anything from the past, anything that I brought in that I may be worried about that somebody is not doing or doing. And so I clear myself. And we don't usually think to go through a clearing before we sit with a client or sit to make a decision of any kind. And so this is just a really simple way to just allow everything to melt away and to start fresh. So the channel to the divine or to whatever you're channeling or intuiting is purely open throughout the day. So this is a real simple technique that you can use every day if you'd like.
awesome.
And if you're ready, let's go. You ready?
Do it.
Okay, so I want everybody just to get comfortable in their chairs and take a deep breath and close your eyes. And I want you to see that bright white light of the sun to come down into your brain and fill your brain with just this amazing power and energy. And like a light coming on into the darkness, anything that you're worried about, any financial, personal, relationship woes that you may have, I want you to see them start to melt and start to move down through the base of your neck, leaving the brain, leaving the occipital and parietal, any stored information. We want to just cleanse it all out. And we want the sun and the light to move it down the neck, down through the spine. And as it's going down through the spine, I want you to see it take any impurities that might be in your nervous system, any impurities, any illness. All of it's just melting away down the spine, going through the lower chakras and out the base of the sacral. And I want you to feel anything that's not of the higher thought and higher feeling and higher health to go into the underworld, to be released into the mother, into the earth, into the dirt, into the soil. And let her receive all of your worries. Let her receive all of your stress. Like fertilizer, she can transmute it. She can transform it. And as you're letting go of any of that muck that might be still trapped in the nervous system or trapped in the brain or trapped in your thoughts, see the mother pulling it from you. She needs that fertilization. She can take that, transmute it, and now the seeds of the new day have a fresh foundation, and they can sprout because it has been transmuted into fertilization of the new thoughts, the new expectations, the new wonder, the new happiness and joy, and just delight like a child, like that sprout is sprouting and feeling the sun on it for the very first time. Today is the first day of the rest of your life. And as we move that beautiful power and growth and knowledge from the earth back up through the brain, it is fully open and fully ready to receive whatever the divine wants to fill it with. We are open to receive, and so it is. And then just take a deep breath and open your eyes.
Thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. This is just a simple, if we believe in alchemy, or we believe that we are one with nature and we're transforming with nature, this is how nature works. Excuse my language, but nature takes the shit, if I can say that, and transmutes it into fabulous fertilizer. And we think that we don't realize that we can just get down in the dirt and just let it all go, and it really can be transformed and come back to us in something beautiful. So
I love that. And it's so nice to, feel like we do have this support, and we can just, here you go. We don't have to give it to our friends or family or keep it, hold it on.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, is nature gives us energy back if we believe that the plants are communicating with us, and that's where energy comes from. Then you spend more time in nature and it will fill you with whatever you need. There was a great book written many, many years ago, The Celestine Prophecy, where they talk about connecting with nature for her energy. And it is so true for any of us on this path. We have to get our feet in the dirt. We have to do it. It's important.
Definitely. So where did your spiritual journey begin? And where was this bridge that happened where you brought science and spirituality together?
Oh, wonderful question. As for most of us, it comes when I'm a little girl, it just showed up. I just came in, and we were just talking about this in the class that I just did, where, I would pick up rocks and have to take them home. And I just interviewed my 93-year-old mother because I wanted to ask her about how it was when I was a child. I didn't want to lose that because, she's 93. And she said, it was very strange. She said, if we went camping or anything, you'd want to bring squirrels home. They would just come up to you. And I always had communication with the outside world. I could see spirits and angels, and I can go back even further to that I was adopted. I was in an incubator for 2 months back in the early 60s. They didn't have all the touchy-feely, and I truly believe that the angelic world was there with me. I was not alone. But I would bring home rocks. I was always connected to nature in that way. Something happened when I was about 7 years old that kind of made me draw back and stop talking about what I saw. But I've been involved in spiritual practice since I was 13. So it's been quite a while. I luckily for me had somebody who pulled that out in me right away and saw that in me. But at the same time, the science world was brought to me in a way that's another fun story. I used to always put my hair in my mouth and suck on my hair. And the little boy next door, who wasn't that little, but he said, "Oh, that's so gross. Why are you doing that?" And I thought, I'm not putting my hair in my mouth as I'm putting my hair in my mouth. And so he had me look at my hair under a microscope. And just a little kid's microscope, and I'm looking at my hair and seeing all the germs moving. And I, needless to say, never put my hair in my mouth again. But looking in that microscope and going down into that world of, there's worlds that we don't even know exist, did something that is unexplainable. And so I went on to get a chemical engineering degree. And my thesis is on electron spectroscopy. So that is breaking things down to the smallest electron and seeing the energy of that electron. So in that scientific world where we're working with quantum physics and electrons, your spirituality grows immensely, because you realize there are worlds within worlds within worlds. And so you can't unknow that. And so people think scientists don't believe in God or aren't spiritual. But if we go back to some of the greatest minds like Isaac Newton and Einstein, they were all in the pursuit to talk to the divine. In fact, Einstein said, "I want to know the thoughts of God. The rest is detail." Mm-hmm. So that it's opened up. And so alchemy is my background and my love.
Yeah. Beautiful. So can you tell us a little bit more about what brainwave optimization is?
Brainwave optimization is a holistic technology that basically exercises the brain so the neurotransmitters of the brain can make connections. So if you've ever had a head injury or had PTSD or suffering from anxiety or insomnia, that's all chemistry that the brain makes. If we have a PTSD event, our midline of our brain actually thickens and doesn't allow the two sides to communicate as well. Or a head injury might cause scar tissue. And so what brain optimization does is it actually exercises the brain so the brain can see itself. It can see where it's out of balance or the frequencies are too high and too low and self-correct. So it's really an amazing technology that I got involved with by necessity because I had had a head injury. And so I had lost my ability to communicate. My conversations would be, you know, the thing I'm talking about, you know, and I couldn't communicate anymore. Therefore, I stopped working. And over time, after I had found brainwave optimization, and it was like, boom, my brain just came right back into homeostasis, and I was right back to having conversations. And so I never went back to the science world. I moved forward into helping people. And so with my abilities to channel and intuition and the brainwave optimization, the experience is so much fun because we go through this big journey together for people to know themselves and to heal their brains.
Yeah. So can you tell us, you know, what's happening in the brain and in the body when we are in these states of tapping into our intuition or in a meditative state?
Oh, beautiful question. So this is the other thing is bringing the brain into it. You know, this is our master controller. And so when we want to open that direct channel, everything has to be working right, especially if we're opening a channel and trying to get involved in our intuition and part of our brain's not working right, we always feel blocked or like there's a brain fog or, you know, why is everybody having an experience in this class and I'm not? It usually goes back to that there was some type of injury or there's some frequency out of balance in the brain. By working your brain, and there's simple exercises you could even do at home that, like we just did, meditation, that starts to bring the brain back into homeostasis. All of a sudden, when everything's communicating properly, that channel starts to open up, especially in our slightest little nuances of our intuition. We all have that ability, but there's blocks that we've had for many, many lifetimes that are blocking us from, boom, wow, I can see everything. I know everything that's going on. The truth is we all have the ability to channel. We all have the ability to have intuitive hits, and we all have the ability to read for each other. What's blocking us is the neural pathways of the brain and how they're wired. And so instead of everybody's, looking at different things, you've got to start with the brain. Even with any type of holistic medicine, that naturopath or whoever you're going to, they understand that the gut and the brain have to be able to communicate to each other. If the brain's not working, no matter what they do for you in your inner world, it's not going to work because the brain's not going to take it. It's going to say, there's a great, I want to tell you, there's a great thing called tapping, and you tap and you tap, and it really wakes up the brain, and it wakes up the meridians in the body. But if your brain's out of balance, it's not going to work. So you hear people say, that didn't work. But why for the masses does it work? It's because this person it didn't work for, there's something off in the brain. So that's became my life's work now, is to help people, one, to open their brain so their body can heal, their soul can heal, and so they can have a higher communication with the divine, so they can hear that voice, so they can see that vision. Our occipital lobe is our sight, insight, foresight, intuition, and perspective. Just this one lobe. And then connected with the pineal gland and the pituitary, you get all that going, and you can see the air. You can see the subtle differences in somebody's energy. It's all there. You just have to train yourself and clean up shop, clean up the brain, and it's easy. It just all of a sudden people open up and go, wow, I could see the air. Because it's not, there's not nothing here. It's a gas, and we should be able to see it.
So what would be some of the, are there any little tools that you could share for people to do at home to just kind of get that going?
Yes. I'm sure lots of people have been talking about this over the course of the summit, but meditation. Mm-hmm. We have to quiet the brain, as hard as it is. And we hear so many times people say, I just can't turn it all off. At least trying 10 minutes a day of just breathing and allowing the brain to rest or settle, and doing a visualization like we just did, letting go of all of that fears, doubts, and worries. Because when we let go of those, the answers can come in. If the fears, doubts, and worries are running the show, the brain has nowhere to go to try to find solutions. And so meditation, sound healing, these are things everybody can go at anything and buy a little Tibetan bowl. The vibration of that sound helps the brain, helps to heal the brain. Things like binaural beats and things like that might not be so advantageous for the long term. And I'll tell you why. The brain is ever evolving. And so if you're doing something today that, oh my gosh, it worked and it was amazing, and you do it every day on and on and on and on, the brain's already evolved past it, and now you've got it stuck in a rut. You have to keep evolving. So if you're doing sound healing on yourself, or you're going somewhere to do sound healing, that's great. But if you listen to the same CD over and over and over, it's like keeping the brain stuck. It's not allowing it to evolve to the next thing. And so we have to be really careful with things that we want to do over and over and over and over and over and over, because we are keeping the brain stuck. So we've got meditation, sound healing, and laughter. The brain needs to laugh, and it needs to move. Dance, go to different things where you're in movement, or just turn music on in the house. I can tell people right now that if I turn a song on that was played at the funeral of the person you love the most, you're going to start bawling your eyes out. The song is just igniting some memory in the brain, and you have no control over what your whole nervous system and body just did. It just went from, oh, I'm having a great day, to crying on your bed, just decimated. And it's because we haven't mastered our own connection with our brains. We're letting our nervous system and our autonomic nervous system run the show. And so when you do things like movement and meditation and sound healing, you're keeping your brain fresh and you're in control. When we're watching TV, spending too much time on the computer playing video games, we're letting something else control our brain, and it's actually losing its own ability to self-correct. Mm-hmm. And so we want to make sure that we're doing a lot of movement, yoga, all those practices. They're brain food. They really are. It's not like you have to continue reading things and get harder and harder or be a scientist for your brain to evolve. You just need to keep things fresh and the brain will grow. Mm-hmm. It needs that newness and that new movement for the neurotransmitters to make new neural pathways. And it doesn't have to be that you're reading some esoteric book. It could just be that you've gone to a new class. Mm. And that's how the brain works. It just wants to evolve forward motion, something new every day. And that's the other thing, something new every day. I've seen a lot of people on Facebook doing these bucket lists where they were going to do 100 things that they were afraid of. So they make a list of 100 things they're afraid of, and then they go out and do one a day or one a week. That's so good for the brain. So good for the brain.
That should be an extra challenge for anyone that's watching, including myself. Write down 100 things and take that challenge on. Mm-hmm.
Oh, even 10. So this is the thing that's so cute, is that people hear the word 100. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to do it. Start with 10. Mm. Don't think something is so monumental, because this is what happens in the brain. Oh my gosh, it's so monumental, I'm never going to start. You could even just say, today I'm just going to do one thing. And just do one thing. And if you get that one thing done, then think of something else the next day. But so many people make goals that are so big that they set themselves up to failure. And we don't want that. The brain wants to feel good. It wants to protect you. It wants to feel good. And we've taught our brains over the years is, oh, I can never keep up with stuff like that. I never finish those projects. And the brain's like, yeah, it's got proof. Okay, so she's not going to do it, so why bother stopping? But if you give it just one task that you can be successful at, the brain's like, wow, that was pretty good. I was successful. You know, a lot of people these days are into affirmation. And I have to tell you, being somebody that's worked with the brain and worked in this neuroscience field for so long, affirmation does not work. Declaration with affirmation is the only way to get the brain on board. An affirmation is to say, I'm 20 pounds lighter than I was. I lost 20 pounds. And you're looking at yourself and the brain's going, yeah, no. Right? And so, do you know it takes 10,000 repetitive affirmations for the affirmation to work? Why? Because the brain is not buying it. But if you do declaration first, if you say, when I was 20 pounds lighter, or I was 140 pounds, or 120 pounds, and look at yourself with a picture of you at 120 pounds, and that's how much I weigh. I'm 120 pounds. See, there's proof right there. And you give the brain something to say, declaration. Oh, yeah, we were 120 pounds. I remember that. I could do that. Or I am going to be a dancer, a professional dancer. The brain's like, yeah, you're almost 60 years old. I don't think that's going to work. And I could do that affirmation. I'm a professional dancer. And the brain's going to fight me. But if I say, I am a professional dancer, and remember a time when maybe you were only in grade school in a play, and you were dancing and everybody was applauding, and you say, I'm a professional dancer because I've performed in front of a live audience and they applauded me. The brain's like, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, you must be a professional dancer. And boom, the affirmation will work that fast. And so we have to learn how to get our brain on board with what our desires are, and to find something where it can say, oh yeah, we've done that. And then boom, you have a success. And so this is where brain optimization also, as we can open up to perceive ourselves and to learn how to perceive ourselves in more of that range of I am something more. When we can open up like that, again, we open up to greater intuition and greater cognitive abilities, and we see that there's a whole world there to support us to win the goal that we're after. So hope that answered that question.
Totally. Yeah, it's great. It's great. And we actually had another guest on, and she was talking about, and she was kind of coming from more of just a feeling stance. If you're saying this affirmation, like, if you don't really feel it, you're kind of just going through the motions. You need to maybe scale down a bit and say something that is more of a realistic goal, so that way you can take that next step to get there and then grow it a little bit more.
100% correct. There was a book written, I believe, in 1928 called Feeling is the Secret. It's by Neville. And he says, if you can't feel it, then you're never going to get there. You have to feel it first, and you have to embody it first, and then boom, there it goes. And so that's why declaration works so well with the brain, because the brain's going to say, yeah, I did that. Yeah, even if it was something so minute. I'm a professional writer. Maybe you wrote a poem in high school or had to write a book report. Somebody read it, somebody graded it, somebody edited it. That's all things that professional writers have to go through. So I guess you're a professional writer. Now the brain will totally take that on.
I love that. So how do you, when you use sound, and you've also talked about movement, and so I kind of wanted to see what happens when we are in this creative state, when we're doing anything creative, whether it's listening to music, playing music, dancing, writing poetry, painting a picture. Is that a similar state to when you're meditating? And also, like, how can you use that to grow your brain and also, better create your life?
Oh, good question. So as most of us know, the right side of our brain is the creative, intuitive. It is the emotional. It's that, we love that right side of our brain. The left side is the more logical, the more fact-driven. And so we need both sides to work at the same level. People are going out there and they're really just working on that right brain. They're into that creative world, but there's a reason they call them starving artists. If we're always just oming and dancing and writing poetry, we're never creating a business. You have to infiltrate both sides of the brain to work together as a team. That left side of the brain, the logical side of the brain, the calculating side of the brain, has to be developed as much as that creative, beautiful, dancing side of the brain. We can't overcompensate on either side. It has to be an equal. And I know people have questioned me on this quite a bit, but we want to be balanced. We want our lives to be balanced. I'm a chemical engineer. I do brainwave optimization. I'm a channel. I've been called the most well-educated gypsy people have met. I make jewelry. I have artwork hanging in the Vero Beach Museum of Art. I teach classes on mysticism. I have patents. So I'm using both sides of my brain equally. And so this is where we really feel like a human being that really can go out and accomplish. We have to have that playful nature first, always first. Come from the eyes of a child, but don't get stuck there. You know, the brain, the newness, the movement, the dance creates the neural pathways, but the only way to really do something with your life post that is to keep that left brain knowledge. You need to also learn. You need to read. We're not reading enough anymore, so we're shutting down the brain. I was showing my students in class the other day the dictionary. The new generation has literally stifled the brain because they're not using a book dictionary. What happens to the brain when we open a dictionary is we see every word and we start to research other words, or we see a picture in the dictionary of something we weren't even thinking about. And so the brain starts to make all these new neural pathways, and which actually helps to ignite our creativity as we're learning these new things. Nowadays, we just pick up the phone and say, Siri, what is da da da? And we've taken away the brain's ability to expand in that world of learning and words. And so we're giving up our power. We're giving up our brain power by using this technology so much. And there's good, I'm not against technology, there's lots of good things, but at the same time, there's something that we're missing and the new generations are missing in play and in knowledge. You know, we need both. So every day come at your life as being playful, and that things like yoga, we have to move our bodies for our brain. It's the nervous system has to have that movement. But we cannot function in life if we're not also developing that left brain. And the left brain supports the right brain. You know, I tell people this is how the brain works. The right brain says, oh, look at the pretty fire. And the left brain says, don't touch it. You know, and the right brain says, oh, but it's pretty. And left brain says, no, let's sit right here and just stay warm. You know, if the two aren't working together, the right brain will go, oh, look at the pretty fire. Ow. Oh, look at the pretty fire. Ow. Why am I doing this? You know, and then, oh, look at the pretty fire. Ow. And the left brain's over here going, hello, what are you doing? And we all see that when we're so right brained, we keep thinking we can do everything the same way, and it's just someday going to turn out different than it has in the past. You know, the left brain, though, people get so stuck in the left brain that they go, I'm going to pretend like the fire doesn't exist, and therefore it's not going to burn me. And so they see these people too that shut down from that creativity, and they're like, yeah, I'm just going to be fully logical, and I'm going to pretend what you did just didn't happen, because then it'll all go away. We can't be that way either. When the two sides are working together, we can all sit around the fire without getting burned. You know, use your brain. There's a great quote that says, we were taught a lie when we were taught to see with, not through the eye. We are like this amazing super conscious mind that is only using this body in this moment. We're connected to everything. There's nowhere we're not. And we can prove this through quantum physics. So I'm using this body through my brain, my heart connection, the brain-body connection, and then using the eyes to maneuver around and see what's going on. The information comes back in. I can't just take everything as I see it. I have to let it go back in through the brain and think about what I'm seeing. Oh, okay, that's what that means. That's what's really happening. I'm seeing with my brain and with my heart, not with my eyes. And so therefore, I have to educate them, and I have to keep them strong, and I have to keep them moving. Right now with people, they're so focused in on reality TV, taking so much bullying going on, these kids cyberbullying, and they believe that this person's opinion matters. But if they could just open their intuition to the super conscious brain, the super conscious mind that has no body, that can see everything and operate through everything, using that left and right brain equally, then there's something so beautiful and pure that you can get to, and that is self-awareness.
Yeah. That is a beautiful way to describe that. Yeah, and it's so true, and I love kind of what you were saying a little bit back is like really needing to bring in the knowledge and just keep that going, the knowledge, and then like the interface of the two worlds and the two sides of the brain. So
Absolutely, yeah.
yeah, I think there's some good challenges in this call for anyone that's listening. You know, we have our being able to push through some of those fears and keep things fresh, and then also like where can you challenge yourself and continuously learning and putting yourself in that vulnerable place of saying, I don't know everything, let's find out. Mm-hmm.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And you know, our intuition, it's so beautiful, but a lot of times it's clouded by what's going on in our lives, you know, what you've been through, where you're, and so it's a constant work and evolution. And I was just telling somebody the other day, I have a teacher who's was an anthropology professor for 33 years, and has written multiple books. And he'll tell you, he goes, I feel like I don't know anything. He goes, the more I know, the more I realize I don't know. And the fun excitement of the journey of learning. And, you know, our earth has so many hidden secrets. She has so many power centers. I just got back from Sedona and spent time in the vortex, and it was just like amazing, you know, and you can't deny it's not there. The more you clean up your brain and the more you clean up your physical body, you can feel the vortex before you get near it. You can feel it coming. You can feel it in the rocks. You can feel it. And it's such a beautiful world. It's so amazing. And I want to just talk about for a minute, the people talk about, you know, oh, there's so much terrible things going on. How could you be so positive all the time? And I'm like, well, the more that we see that's bad that's going on, the more that you have to know there's an equal part of good going on also. So if we have a magnet, no matter how thin we slice that magnet, there's a negative and a positive. There's a point within the magnet called the 0-point field that has no negative and positive. So the 0-point field, as we grow on the positive side of the magnet, we do all this positive stuff in our life and we bring in the light. We're part of these wonderful groups. We're cleaning up nature. We're cleaning up our own world, our own physical body. And we think we're just building this positive, positive, positive. But in science, the more we build the magnet, the center will always go back to the 0-point field in the center. So we're not just building positive, we're building negative. And I'm not saying that don't be positive. You have as many negative ions in your body as you have positive. You know, we know this is a fact. So half your body's not bad, right? Just because you have negative ions. But the 0-point field will always recalibrate to the center, always. So what we know is as this darkness is building, or this negative reactions in the world are building, and we just happen to be seeing them more, there has to be equal amount of positive going on. So movements like this with the Goddess Fest, where we're all coming into that power center of what we are and who we are, we have to realize that the more we rise up, the more that we connect to our intuition, the more that we connect to our superconscious mind and our own divinity, creates the equal amount of opposite that we're going to see in the world. And so we have to keep our eye on the sparrow. We have to keep our eye on what we want to be and not on the negative. You can't watch the California wildfires on TV enough to help the people who are in the California wildfires. Mm-hmm. But you could go close your eyes and go internally and pray for them and see the humidity coming into the air and see the fires going out. That's where you can help. Mm-hmm. Not by focusing on, oh my gosh, did you see the fires? Oh my gosh, you know, everybody's focusing on the negative, but don't focus on what you think is real. Focus on what the solution is. Mm-hmm. And not only does that help you, as you see this beautiful greenery growing back after these fires, and it helps your brain, it actually helps the fires to dissipate. So anytime you focus on the negative, you're creating the negative. Focus on the positive. Focus on what you want to see, what you want to be, what you want to have. And the brain will get on board. The more you focus on the negative, the more it's going to pull you, suck you down that rabbit hole. And so just know, if you start seeing all kinds of negative stuff on the news, ooh, just as much positive is on the other side. It's just science, it's basic facts, there's no way to get around it. And I would rather be on the side building light and not worrying about, what's going on the other side. We don't watch the news in my house. My 93-year-old mother moved in with me, and she's not allowed to have the TV on after I get home, because there's nothing on there that's worth me taking my time. When I can be in my home and listening to music and painting and doing all this other stuff, there's nothing more valuable than that. But yet we've let ourselves get caught up in, well, I'm just watching The Voice. Well, how many hours last month did you watch The Voice? And then now you didn't finish the thing you wanted to write.
Right.
So don't get caught up in that world of negative, because it's only the opposite of what is really happening.
Thank you for that. I think that's something that we always can hear more of, and always reaffirm, there's so much happening out there. And that's a big part about what the Global Goddess Fest is all about, is bringing different cultures together and bringing different guests from different parts of the world, and still unifying under this bigger sense of unity and love and connection and support that we can bring to each other. So
I love that. I love that. That's why I wanted to be part of this and to support this, is because we all have something beautiful, inside of us. There's nobody that is without that beauty, that God seed inside of them.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a really beautiful and very informative interview, and so I'm so glad that you were able to bring this science aspect into what the Global Goddess Fest is creating. And for everyone that's watching, Mary has a free gift that she would love to give you all, if you want to tell them a little more about it.
So I am teaching a course called The Fundamentals of Mysticism. And what we're doing is we are doing so many fun things where we're proving the mystical world through science, and having people do all kinds of fun experiments at home, like creating water in a vacuum sealed jar. Now, talk about magic. When you can create water from intention, and as the jar fills up. So the introductory class, it was 2 hours long, and we're offering that to you as a gift. It's really fun, lots of information, and it just kind of just like this talk, opening your mind to, you are the universe, you are the superconscious mind. And when you realize you're part of this quantum field, there's nothing that you can't do. And so that 2-hour course is a gift to you with this Goddess Fest. So.
Thank you so much. I know that's going to be an amazing course. And so everyone, please make sure you take advantage of that. It's a very special opportunity.
Yes.
So thank you so much for joining us. And we hope to see you soon at the next Global Goddess Fest.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Have a good one.
Namaste.